I want to formally welcome everyone to the fourth and final call in our winter and spring, it's kind of summer now though, 2013 Lunch and Learn series called Celebration and Sharing, Final Steps of the Grant-Making Process. So as we've reviewed our bank of resources in preparation for the new website that you've all been hearing about and which we are working on, and worked with a number of new programs over the last year or so, we realized at JTFN that this area of celebration and sharing, or final programs, is an area in which we don't have a ton of resources to share. So it seems that we've not done a good job tapping all of you for the resources that you have. So today's goal is really to tap your wisdom to help new programs as they plan their celebration and sharing sessions, and to bulk up JTFN's resources so we can continue to share among programs. I also thought that it would be a good opportunity for each of you to take a step back and look at your own programs and to hear from your peers as a chance to add something new or change something about how you do this culminating process. We hope that at this time of year the programs are fresh in your mind. You're either about to have them or you've just had them, and that there's also plenty of time to plan for next year. So after this call, I'm hoping to write up some of the things that we've learned for the benefit of new programs and also those who weren't able to participate today, so that we can continue to share them as people are looking for materials in the future. I also really encourage you to send any materials that we discuss my way. So some of these things may lend themselves to concrete, and we'd love to be able to share those things on our new website. So before we jump in, since we have the benefit of this being a rather intimate call, and we're all presenters on today's call, I just want to go around and give everyone a chance to introduce yourself more formally. So please share your name, what program you're calling from, where your program's hosted, because I think that's sometimes relevant to how we do our programming, and the favorite part of your job. So I think I have an idea who's on, so I'll just call you by first name. How about Darren first? And again, if you're muted, just press *7 to unmute.
All right, am I unmuted?
Yeah, we hear you.
All right. My name is Darren Schwartz, calling from the Jewish Community Foundation in San Diego. We run I'm supposed to describe my program and what my favorite thing is?
Yeah, just tell us, you said what your program's out of, where you're calling from, and what your favorite part of your job is. This job, you may have a lot of roles there, but of the team philanthropy part.
Okay. My favorite part of my job is something I'm doing today, where I did a one-day short version of our youth philanthropy program. A high schooler got really excited and wants me to teach it through his youth group. And so he's coming to my office today to meet with me to bring the program to his group. Terrific.
Awesome. That's exciting. So, all right, how about Hallie?
Hi, I'm Hallie Shapiro-DeVere. I am in charge of our Youth Initiatives program through the Jewish Federation of Metropolitan Chicago. Our program is called Voices, the Chicago Jewish Teen Foundation. We also have an alumni foundation. My favorite part is seeing how the teens have grown and taken control of their potential for growth, making an alumni foundation. And this year, for the first time, we are having a teen philanthropy intern during the summer, someone who's a rising junior who's already been through Voices 101 and then the Voices Alumni Foundation.
Great. Thanks a lot, Hallie. How about Donna?
I am from United Synagogue Youth with Temple Beth Israel in Port Washington. My favorite part is listening to the kids, listening to their back and forth discussion. It's very interesting, where their minds come from, and listening to today's generation.
Great. So Don is actually part of our Long Island pilot, which is one of the programs that we've been developing this year, and which we were kind of thinking about what kind of resources would be helpful. Thanks, Donna. And let's see, we have Celeste.
Hi, everyone. My name is Celeste Albert. I'm with the Jewish Community Youth Foundation in Princeton, New Jersey. And one of my favorite parts of youth philanthropy is hearing about the teens' experience after they graduate and how they relate the skills that they've learned in this program and how they utilize those in college and beyond.
Great. Thanks a lot, Celeste. Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel Lipkin. I'm from the Louisville JCC Day Camp. I'm also the assistant camp director, Jewish programmer, and middle school director. And my favorite part is definitely has been talking to the teens individually about what they're looking forward to donate the money to, so finding different organizations. So that's kind of been my favorite part, is just interacting with the teens for that part.
Great. And Rachel is new at this part of our camp pilot and also going to be running a year-round program, right, Rachel?
Yes.
Great. I know we have Stephanie. So, Stephanie, how about you next, and then some others who I don't know who's on yet.
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's Stephanie Zelkind. I'm the director of JTFN. And I would say that in this moment, my favorite part is just reflecting on the incredible growth of this field over the last 6 years. We started when JTFN was created in 2006 with about 20 teen foundations throughout North America, and today we have 125 running in schools and JCCs and federations and summer camps throughout North America, and more on the way. And it's just very exciting to be part of such a vibrant field.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. I think we actually have one other person who hasn't introduced themselves. Who's that?
This is Valerie Gintis. I'm sorry I'm late,
okay.
And I missed the intro question.
Oh, no problem. So we were just sharing which program you're calling from and what organization or kind of institution it's hosted out of, and then your favorite part of your teen philanthropy job, that aspect of your job.
I'm Valerie Gintis. I'm with the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, and we oversee B'nai Tzedek Teen Philanthropy Program, which is a youth foundation model. And we recently had a retreat after taking off a year, and I was incredibly inspired by the teens and incredibly lucky by having the most amazing combination of staff I've ever had the chance to work with at a retreat, and I left exhausted and inspired.
Terrific. I'll have to hear about that retreat. So I think we've got everyone. Did I miss anybody? Okay. So this is great. So, I'm excited to have an opportunity for us to be on the kind of call where I'll really get to hear who else is there. And just because we had somebody join us, if you feel like there may be background noise in your setting, you can use *6 to mute yourself and *7 to unmute, because we are keeping the lines open so that we can all really hear from each other. So I thought that it would be important to start this conversation about the final programs by looking at the big picture. So that way when we move into the details, we can make sure that everything we're doing is really goal-aligned. So the big picture question is, and I want each of you to think about this question, what are the goals of your celebration and sharing session? So I'm going to be quiet for a minute so everybody can think about that. What are your goals?
This is Hallie from Chicago.
Great. I'd love to hear your answers to this. We're going to take a couple people.
Okay. I would say that our main goal is to let the teens express their feelings about the experience in a setting where all their parents can hear. We really let the teens design that final day. We let as many of them talk as we want. We let them talk about each of the organizations that they funded and why, and it's really illuminating for the parents. This year we're opening it up a little bit, and we are hoping to spread it to more of the community. So for the first time, we're going to be formally inviting the youth directors of other youth-serving organizations so that they can come and see what's happening in Chicago around youth philanthropy.
Great. So it sounds like there's been the goal of parents and also like a youth empowerment goal of this program with expanding goals. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about, like what kind of goals may you want to expand to. Is there anyone else that would be open to sharing the goals of this part of your program?
Hi, this is Celeste from Princeton, New Jersey. To go along, very similar to what Hallie had mentioned, we have similar goals, but also one goal is to just celebrate the work the students have done. This is definitely not an easy process for them to decide how to distribute their funds, and the teens have spent a lot of time, researching the organizations, interviewing the representatives, visiting them, and deciding how they want to distribute their funds. So this is a fun way to celebrate their work. And it's also a great way for the program to come together and learn about some of these organizations and grants the teams have learned about this year. And also, we've added an Alumni Award. So a goal that we've had was to recognize an alum who've utilized the skills that they've learned in JCYF and continues to make a difference in the Jewish community in college. So a goal is to also see maybe the long-term effects of the program.
Great. Yeah, I had the opportunity to be at Celeste, the Jewish Community Youth Foundation's ceremony this year, and there definitely was a big goal of seeing the long-term effects of this program as you hit 10 years, which is a nice goal for people to think about, and also recognizing alumni I think may be unique. I'm not sure how many others do that. Thank you. Do we have one other? Actually, I just want to say I think someone else has joined us. Josie, are you there?
I am.
Hi, great. So just we'll catch you up. So just tell us what program you're from so everyone knows and where it's hosted out of.
Thank you. I'm from Memphis B'nai Tzedek out of Memphis, Tennessee.
Great. So we are just talking about what the goal of your final program is. So I'm inviting one other person to share with us the goal.
Is that invitation to me?
Whoever would like, we'd love you.
Well, I honestly, I have to tell you that we are very excited that we have received an endowment for our co-op grant fund. And
congratulations.
So we are, thank you very much. We are sort of reworking our whole process. So I am actually here to learn from all of you, so I will not share at the moment. So thank you.
Great. We hope there'll be a lot of learning. Would anyone else like to share a goal of your final program? Okay, so we'll move on. I think we heard a number of goals from the two people that we heard from. I'm just taking a look at some of the ideas of goals that I have, and I think we've hit most of them. So. So I hope that you've each kind of come to an idea about what your goal is or what you'd like your goal to be, so that as we go through, we're going to revisit this question and see how the different parts of the process, how your goals are reflected in the process, or if there would be things you may want to change based on what your goals are. So the first thing in creating these programs is typically planning. So this speaks to questions like, who are you going to invite? How are you going to invite them? Where are you going to have the program? So I want to first hit on a couple of those things. So could anybody share with me what is the invitation list for your program? Maybe we can get someone new to share. Just generally, who do you invite? Your program is a month away. Who are you contacting?
Hi, this is Celeste from Princeton Jewish Community Foundation. We invite all the parents, obviously the participants. We also invite every rabbi and education director from each synagogue, any special community members, definitely our partners. Sometimes we'll invite board members from our partner organizations. We invite all the recipients.
You mean the recipients of the grants?
And trying to think. We'll invite newspapers to come, and anyone who we think would be interested in learning more about the program.
Great. Is there anyone else who wants to add to that very extensive list?
The only people that we invite that Celeste didn't list are the siblings.
Oh, great. So whole families.
Yeah.
And do you find that's a recruitment tool?
Sometimes they're in that age range. A lot of times we get really young kids, but it just feels nice to have the whole family there and for the siblings to see their older or younger siblings shine. Great.
And another group that I heard missing, which I know many of you invite, are your funders. So I'm going to add that to the list. Does anybody invite other teens, not just the ones that participated, but like you can bring your friends?
Nope. This is Celeste. We actually have teens come and volunteer who are not in the program so that they can see what the program is about. So it's more informal, but I like that idea. Maybe that's something we would consider next year.
That may be another idea for some people. Great. And how do you do this inviting? So do you use mail, email, Facebook, phone, word of mouth, all of the above? Just want to get an idea for that.
Here in Chicago, we mostly use email. In the past, we've tried hard copy mail. It didn't really seem to impact the number of people who came. So we found that email is easiest and least expensive.
And that sounds like it's probably also a bit of a cost-saving method because anytime you do a mailing, you're going to incur some costs, which we will get to in a minute. We'll get to budget. But first, just venue. Like, where are you having these programs? Are they in your host institution? Are you renting out a space because you need a bigger space? Where do each of you have them?
This is Celeste, again, from JCYF, for instance. We have to rent out a high school. We used to hold them in different schools in the community, but we need seating for about 600 to 700 people. So the high school is the only ones that were able to accommodate us.
So wow, that's amazing.
Do they donate the space to you, or do you have to pay for it?
We do have to pay for it because it is on a weekend, and they have to pay their staff. And then there's also additional staff that has to come in, like the person that handles the microphone and the lighting and stuff like that.
And just to frame this, I mean, Celeste, how many teens did you have in your program this year?
We had 162.
So 162
oh my gosh.
teens plus, it's many different teen foundations. 10, 9, how many?
10.
Okay. So that's how you can imagine how the numbers grow. It's a very big program there. I know some of you are talking like much smaller scale. So who is dealing with like much smaller numbers? Maybe Donna, have you had your final program yet?
No.
Okay. What are you thinking? Like, do you have any concepts?
Well, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I stopped snail mail about 5 years ago because it's not as effective as an email. And the email you could just keep sending to remind people.
Right.
So it's more timely.
Great. And
we have a social hall. I mean, I only have 10 kids in my program.
Right.
So we'd be fine using the social hall in our synagogue.
Right. Okay, great.
So here in Chicago, we have a space that could accommodate the 75 to 100 people that we normally get. Unfortunately, it costs so much money to use our own space because it's a Sunday, and we have to pay for security, and we have to pay for the air conditioning to be turned on, and then the staff to come in because we serve dinner at ours. So we've done it at several different locations. One is our Council for Jewish Elderly has a community living center that has large enough spaces, and we only are charged for food. We've also used Park District space. They have a few nice spaces in community spaces that we've used. So we're not married to one space. We sort of move around every year.
And it sounds like you're thinking broadly about that. Just an interesting point that your own space isn't the most affordable. So you're looking.
It's terrible,
outside.
isn't it?
Seriously, they can't donate it.
Well, they really have to pay these people, so
right.
It has to come from somebody's budget, and that budget is always mine.
Right, they're legitimate costs.
So,
and that brings us back again to budget. So, can anyone share like what these programs cost approximately? Because again, we're talking very different scales. So, and some of that will depend on if you're serving food or what you're doing. But if you have the budget from the beginning, you'll have an idea of what you're able to do. Does anyone feel comfortable sharing any information about the cost of this program?
Well, here in Chicago, we budget between $1,000 and $1,500 for it, depending on the number of people who are going to attend. This year, it'll be on the higher side because we have the Alumni Foundation as well. So there's 38 teams participating, so we anticipate our largest final dinner ever because of all their parents and their siblings and the grantees and then these other youth providers. It's going to be well over 100 people.
But do you charge for the dinner?
No.
Haley, what do you serve? Just curious.
Pasta.
Oh, that's a good idea. And you get that catered?
Yeah, we do. If we are at the Council for Jewish Elderly, they put something together for us, and they do it very reasonably, and there's a kitchen right on site. When we did it at the Park District space, we did it a little differently. We did a lot of hors d'oeuvres, and we had a friend of our, Stephanie Goldfarb, who's the youth advisor, had a friend who's a bartender, and she came and did mocktails.
Oh, that's cool.
So, she thought in advance what mocktails she wanted to serve, and she just brought big containers of them and then was able to just, have ice, and we had little plastic champagne flutes and little martini glasses. So that was less expensive, and, we had it earlier than dinner time so that we didn't have to serve a full meal. It just wasn't, the space was not conducive to a sit-down dinner there.
And do you, is it strictly kosher or kosher style? Strictly
always kosher.
Okay.
We have to because, it's our own organization's policy, and then we have Orthodox kids always, so we always make sure that we adhere to the highest level of kashrut.
Right. Oh, likewise. So, but even when you do it at a community, at a park commission?
Yeah, we had a kosher caterer make us hors d'oeuvres and just bring them in, and, they came in those tin foil pans, and we just put them set up sterno, and it was in paper plates.
Oh, great.
I've also, this is Steph, spoken to some programs that in order to cut the cost of the program moved from dinner to like a dessert reception that could be done in the evening or the afternoon with like ice cream sundaes and cakes and cookies, which is much more affordable. And I don't know that programs have done this, but I've thought in my mind also doing like a brunch with bagels.
I run the UJA dessert reception at my own synagogue, which is Merrick Jewish Center, and we've been doing a dessert reception for many years, and it's really wonderful and it's very economical.
Mm-hmm. So this is like a great conversation about food and catering. Does anyone else have anything to share that's different from the things we've heard? Okay, great. So I think that we heard from one person about budgetary, what was available in the budget, and you can break that down per kid. But I think that's obviously one of the driving factors in how you get to food and some of the other things we're going to discuss when we discuss the actual event. Before we move into the actual event, just still in the planning phase, what kind of materials do you create for the program? So do you provide anything written to people, like a program of the night or afternoon?
We do in Chicago.
Great. And what does that include?
Just usually the order of the speakers and the list of all the names of the participants.
Great.
And it's simple. You know, we make it up ourselves. We don't do anything fancy. You know, we use some kind of Microsoft something and print it out on cardstock and
Hal, I think
cut it in half.
I think your use of the word fancy, this is Steph again, just hit me that I think that that's almost like a philosophical decision to consider about these final events and what's the tone that you want this event to have, which is not a question that's unlike what's the tone you want your program year-round to have. So some programs, for instance, structure their meetings so that kids are coming to the meetings and the site visits wearing, business attire, or that it's intentionally structured as a very formal, adult-like program. And that structuring it that way has an effect on the program and kind of the attitude about the program. Other programs may intentionally try to structure and create space that feels very fluid or very fun or very casual. And so I think the same is true for this final celebration. Do you want this to be like a banquet, and kind of a fancy get-together, or do you want to keep it, more toned down? Some of it may be that, because of budgetary constraints, you may not have a lot of choice in this matter, but I think even the idea of having a printed program is something that, to me, kind of elevates, and kind of adds the fancy quotient, even if it is something that's just printed out, on your regular computer, not brought to a print shop or something.
Great. So maybe we'll actually turn to that question of tone. Has anyone given any thought to that? Would you have words to articulate what kind of tone you're going for? Is it serious? Is it fun? Is it fancy?
Hi, this is Celeste from JCYF in Princeton, New Jersey. I think ours is a little mix. It's definitely not fancy, but, we require the students to dress like they would for synagogue. We have printed programs. I shouldn't say dress for synagogue. Let me just take a step back. We wanted the gentlemen not to wear jeans or shorts or sports clothing and the females to wear flip-flops and shorts. We wanted them to, business attire, but not business. Maybe step up from their everyday clothes, but I feel like the students have taken it to the next level, and a lot of the gentlemen wear suits, which we do not require at all, but they have felt like the program required that. So it's nice to see the students take this a little more serious than we had maybe intended. But we definitely have a fun element to it. There's a lot of cheering. We have a slideshow where we have very upbeat music. We provide in our printed materials a booklet about all of the grants. So we continue that theme of learning about the different programs and organizations. We've also included a booklet with senior reflections. Because time is an issue with the program, we don't have a lot of time to have every senior, let's say, make a speech, but we allow them to write some of their thoughts in a booklet, and that's been very well received from the parents. And then they do read it, and it was nice to see that a lot of the struggles they might have had in the beginning of getting the team to the program, a lot of the students had, but once they were involved, they really were committed to the program.
So it's obvious that we can actually mix a lot of tones, and it sounds like you addressed one issue of time by actually creating more written materials. So that might be a tool if you can't fit everything in the time that you're going to have or in the attention span of the group. So anyone else want to share about tone? All right. So I just want to take a moment now to pause and reflect. All of these things kind of go into the planning, and then we're going to talk more about like the actual event, which we've hit on also. But how do you think that your planning phase is aligned with your goals is the question to ask yourself. Does anyone want to comment on that?
I know for us, this is Celeste again, planning starts a week after the check ceremony has occurred. It's I feel like a year-long process where, we're very mindful in how we want this to look. We're always looking for new ideas. Space is definitely important to us and securing the right space. So, a week later, I'm calling venues just to get on their radar because we're interested in space. After the check ceremony, we have a meeting to debrief about the program and what we liked, what think we would want to change next time. And I feel like it's a year-long process for us.
It's often hard when you're done to make sure you go back and take that reflection time because this is likely your last program for the year. And maybe some of you, move right into recruitment or there's some time off kind of during the summer months when your teens are away at camp. So I agree that it's really important to think about the program right after and, among staff, and maybe you want to bring in some teens and some parents to think together about what changes or improvements you might want to make for the following year. That's a great piece of advice. So now we just want to move into the program design and the actual event. So if you could give us a rundown of each of your events, and maybe we'll have everyone share either what you're expecting if you're planning this for the first time or what you've done in the past. So what does it actually look like that day? So, here are some areas to hit on when you talk about that. So are there decorations when you walk in? What is the order? Do you have food and then an educational opportunity? Do you do a check presentation? Do you have who is taking photos and videos? Also, do you share photos and videos from the program? Do you give any gifts or recognition, either certificates or actual gifts to the participants? And if so, what are those? And how much do you spend on them? And what is the role of parents or lay leaders in this event? And do you have press there? So I think that's a big picture of what kind of things your event may look like. Is there anyone who could talk us through? Before that, did someone else join us that didn't get to introduce themselves before? I see another number on the list that's muted. *7 tell me. Who's that?
Yeah, it's Darren. I just switched lines.
Oh, there you go. Okay, sorry. I was like, I don't understand. Okay, thanks. So can we put you on the spot?
You can absolutely put me on the spot.
Great. Okay. So can you just walk us through what your event looks like?
Sure. It'll be very quick. We don't have an event.
Okay.
And I felt bad being silent on the call. I'm writing tons and tons of notes on everything you guys are all saying. Right now, our program is in short stints, 7 weeks and done. Our final program either looks like a handshake and a certificate at the end with just the group of teens, or we just recently did a check presentation because I did one of our programs through a local synagogue, and the entire synagogue was there to observe. But really I'm putting more thought right now into a full year-long program, which this would be the cherry on top at the end. So that's all I have to contribute, but please, somebody else that has more experience, I'm dying to hear.
Well, but thank you. I mean, you shared two things, which I'll actually just flag, the check presentation and the certificate. So those are two concrete materials that are the kinds of things that I'd love for you to send me. Some of you recently sent us your copies of your checks that you use, which were extremely helpful for a program who did use one of those samples that was just starting out. That was part of our Long Island program, and so now I have some of those to share with other people. But if you didn't share your big check, with us, feel free to. And also, if you have some kind of certificate that you give to the teens upon their accomplishment, about their accomplishment, I'd love to see copies of those too. I don't have any in my records. Great. So thanks, Darren. We'd love to just go through the list, but who else has something to share about either what you're planning or what you've done?
Here in Chicago, we have done certificates for all of the participants. It's a great way to just let them all come up and announce their names. When we have grantees there, and we don't always, because sometimes they tend to, it goes year by year. Sometimes they want to fund a lot overseas or out of state, and it's impossible to get someone there. But whenever we have someone there, we give them I can't call it a giant check. It's sort of a medium-sized check. It's
okay.
11 by 17 size. So if anybody wants the medium-sized check, I'll be happy to share that.
That's more manageable.
And then, it's nice because you can just print it right here, and you don't have to worry about how am I going to get it to the event. It won't fit in my car.
So you don't have to send that to a printer. You can actually print it on your own, in your own office.
On Giant? Oh, right. So the 11 by 17, yes. You can print it in your own.
No, so I'd love to have a copy of that if you can share one.
Oh, absolutely. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we have the teens. Usually they come up in groups because they are in committees. Will come up together, and one will be elected a spokesperson for the group, and they will talk about each grant, what the grant was, how much it was for, what the money's going to do, why they chose it, and a little bit about the organization that they're funding. We also have a handful of kids talk about their experience and what was meaningful to them throughout the year.
Great. I know some of the others on the call have not done these yet, had a program yet. So Valerie, you don't do a ending ceremony at all?
We used to. Our program's been in existence about 13 years, and about 5 years, we used to do a giant banquet. It was very expensive and very staff intensive. And about 5 years ago, we decided we were not doing a major event. And at this point, our staffing is so incredibly bare bones. We get through our grant making, and I get a $1.99 card from Walgreens and say thanks. So it's very low key at this point.
Okay, so you send personal thank yous, you're saying, to the, or that's what you send to the organizations or to your teens?
To the teens.
Okay.
To the teens. So we really are not doing the, cross your T's and dot your I's kind of programming, which would be sorting our donors and engaging the parents. And we're just not doing that kind of really good level of programming, to be very honest.
Got it. Okay.
This is Steph. I'm just going to jump in again because here's to me where it kind of screams back to this question that Naomi started with of what the goals of the final session are. Because if your goal is primarily teen reflection, it might be a session where no one else is invited other than the teens, and that session is, whether it's a circle of sharing or it's, in small group sharing or it's individual writing exercise, or something, and maybe you have, a cake or something that's kind of very, very low key. And if, just another example that's somewhat contrived, but if your primary goal is to get to raise awareness about your program within your community and get some media attention, then maybe rather than focusing on a very broad event, maybe it's kind of a deep and narrow event where you invite a local reporter to come and interview your teens and try to get an article out of it. And, where that event maybe becomes more of a means to an end. So I think, I guess just what's striking me as I hear people share a little bit is that, if we jump too quickly into what does the event look like, without kind of reminding ourselves of why are we doing this in the first place, it feels very easy to kind of move off course, if that makes sense.
Great, and I think even with a limited budget, you can find a way to meet your goals.
We do. This is Valerie. We do an evaluation, qualitative and quantitative, to the teens and to their parents. It's not celebration, but it's a little bit of data collection about kind of what the impact was.
Got it.
Almost a different topic, but that's sort of been our last activity for the year.
I suppose personal evaluation can create some opportunity for reflection, for personal reflection, and then you may meet some of your goals by being able to share that later on. Great. Would anyone else like to run us through your program?
Hi, this is Celeste from the Jewish Community Foundation in Princeton.
Thanks.
So something I would like to mention before running off the list is that when we invite the recipients to come, we call them up on stage by name, and I would say that part of the process is very detail-oriented and does take some sort of planning, notifying the agencies as soon as possible so that they can ensure to get somebody to come, and we make sure we know their name and their title and this and that. So just wanted to mention that. But our program is usually from 5 to 7:30 on a Sunday evening, and at 5 o'clock we invite the parents, the recipients, and the participants to arrive. At 5 o'clock we separate the group into 3 groups. So the first group are the students who are participating in the ceremony, meaning they have a speaking role or they're holding a check. We call each grade up so everybody gets on stage, but not everybody has an active part. So there's that group. And then the teens that are not an active part in the end of the year program, they will fill out an evaluation and they'll have pizza. And, the dress rehearsal is maybe about 25 minutes, and then the students who were in the dress rehearsal, they'll have time to evaluate any pizza quickly afterwards. What we do with the parents and the recipients is we hold like an hors d'oeuvre, dessert reception, and philanthropy fair. So we display the posters the teams make about their site visit. We have that on easels. We also have tables of information from the organization. So if people were interested in follow-up information, we include in the philanthropy fair as a table where they can pick up information. And then that happens for about 50 minutes. And then we move the parents and the participants into the auditorium. In terms of decorations, we have some balloons and pictures up, but it's nothing nutty. I would say a big part of our decorations are the posters and easels that we provide, displaying the teens' posters about each organization that was learned.
And just to clarify, that's something you use in your grant-making process also, so the teams have created that already and it's just shared here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then how it works is we usually have our founder, she opens the program and talks a little bit, and then we have some teens speak, and then each grade is called up and they do a small presentation calling up each organization, what the grant's about, and calling each recipient by name to collect the check. We do hire a photographer and video person to keep records of the event. When the teens are done, so basically we have like three of the grade. Our program is from 8th grade through 12th grade. So we usually have we had 8th grade go, and then we had 9th grade present, and then in between 9th and 10th grade, we did this interactive poll everywhere presentation where we had one of our partners present this trivia game to the audience, and they texted in answers for different trivia questions, like how much money has the team donated in 10 years? how many prom dates came out of the program, like cute things, but fun facts about JCYF. Then we had the 10th grade present, and then we had a slideshow of the year. Again, upbeat music, people were cheering, and all of that. And then we had the 11th grade present, and then after the 11th grade presented, we had our Alumni Award presentation where, unfortunately, the winner could not attend the program because she was in college in Michigan, but we created a quick 3-minute video of her accepting the award and about just highlighting some of her accomplishments post-JCYF. We invited her parents to come up on stage and accept the award, and then they presented the check to the organization that she donated money to. So I should back up. The prize for the award is a $360 donation to an organization of the Alumni's Choice. And then after that, we had the founder come up and talk about like a senior speech, like talking about the senior class, recognizing the seniors, and then they presented their grants. And then afterwards, we had a cute musical closure from the Princeton University Jewish a cappella group. And then we had a dessert, I should say a make your own sundae reception outside. And I forgot to mention, every time the grade leaves the stage after they present, they take a group picture with the recipients on the check. So it's a nice moment where we, what's the word, just journal about what's been going on through these pictures and all of that.
Thanks, Celeste. That was a very thorough picture of how, walking you through the program. Does anyone else want to share that? And then I want to just focus in on one thing I didn't hear from anyone about. Okay. Does anyone give a gift? I know this was a conversation on our listserv, I think around this time last year, about like what kind of gift might be appropriate to acknowledge the teams for their commitment, and to, that was, again, like aligned with the goals of the program. So does anyone give anything?
Hi, this is Darren in San Diego.
Hey, Darren.
In the past, we have given tzedakah boxes.
That's
with
certainly
the name,
goal aligned.
Yeah. Nice, clear tzedakah boxes with the name of the program on it, just as a memento to, keep on trucking when it comes to tzedakah.
Great. And do you have an idea, like, do you recall the cost range of that?
Less than $20 per.
Okay. Great. Anybody else give anything? I know there were some recommendations of books one year.
This is Hallie in Chicago. We've given books in the past, although I cannot for the life of me remember the name of it. We've also done like a deck of cards, like 52 things about philanthropy for families to use.
Is that what you created, or is it?
It's something that we created on our own. Although I think that 2164 has something similar. Yes. We did a very inexpensive homemade crafty version. So I will say that we have given, and it doesn't work for the end of year thing if it's in the spring, but every year we give our teens at Hanukkah a gift of candles, one for each night of Hanukkah to serve as the shamash, and each candle has a tag with a different reflective question about their work in philanthropy, and they always really love that. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work in June.
Right. So that's a nice way to tie in bringing the message that you're working on home, and also to Hanukkah, a particularly relevant time. And maybe, Hallie, when you recall the name of that book, maybe you can send it our way.
I will.
Great. And also, what would you say is the range of what these ideas have cost for you?
The candles are the most expensive part is the mailing of them, but that's only a few dollars a participant. The books, I think we had spent something like $18 a participant, and the little decks of cards that that was very inexpensive because we did it on a whatever the cost of the you get those perforated cards from I can't remember the the paper company starts with an A. We just printed them out and then ripped them apart ourselves and put them in little envelopes together. So that was very inexpensive.
Okay, great.
But then again, they looked inexpensive.
Are those cards something you would share?
Yeah.
So if you don't mind sending them my way, and we'll share them out on our website if you're comfortable.
Okay.
Terrific. So So I want us to move, because we're coming up against the time, into follow-up. But let's talk a little bit in terms of follow-up about press, because I think that's the most relevant follow-up. So has anyone conducted any specific follow-up with press? I know we often get to see the articles that do come out, which we like to share on our Facebook. But can anyone say anything about press?
This is Celeste from the Jewish Community Foundation in Princeton. We do an extensive press outreach where we create a press packet where it has our brochure, a quick fact sheet about the program, and key points about the program. And I make personal phone calls to the press. I also follow up with an email. And then I think the biggest thing that I get from a lot of the reporters are, well, if this program is not in my town, we can't justify sending a reporter. However, what I do afterwards is I put a press release together, and then I tailor it for the town. So I get a quote from, let's say, East Windsor, and put an East Windsor person quote in the article, and then list all the teams from East Windsor and make it more personalized. And because of that, we're more likely to get into the newspaper versus just sending a generic press article.
So if you cover a bunch of different areas, that could be a good way to get some coverage, to highlight their people. Terrific.
Yes.
And does anyone else have anything to say about press? What about photos? How or do you share photos after the program?
We put things, this is Hallie in Chicago, we put things up on our website. It's usually amateurish, and I'm just thinking about how to make that different for this year.
Because, why is that?
Oh, just if we could make it more professional and include some photos in a press release, maybe.
Got it. Yeah, photos are great for a press release also. I think it can help get into the papers for sure. So we're gonna have one sum up question at the end, but I think we've kind of made it through the program, and we're definitely coming up almost at 1:30. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me if you can for a few more minutes, because I want to mention that this call was really slightly different. Was a slightly different format than our typical Lunch and Learn calls. Usually we have a presenter. This time you were all presenting. So I'm just interested in hearing a little bit of feedback from you about whether you're interested in future calls with a similar format. We're thinking about how to better connect people. And, when we're all talking to each other, I think we feel a bit more connected than when typically someone's more talking at us. So I'd love to ask you to open up your email right now and to type my email address into the to field, because I'm going to ask you what you're thinking about this type of call. So my email is naomi@jfunders.org, if your computer doesn't already remember that. And I just want to ask you to write the number 1, and then rate on a scale of 1 to 10, how useful was this call for you? And now write a number 2. And please write a sentence or two to answer the following question. How did you like this format as compared to the frontal format of most of our calls? I stopped hearing keys click, so I'm taking it as a sign that you're done for those who are unmuted. Now we're at number 3. We'd like to share this as this call recording when we launch our new website. Are you comfortable with us sharing it, yes or no? And now number 4. This is the last call in our current Lunch and Learn series. We will plan more calls most likely for the fall. So do you have any suggestions for the next series? Whenever you're finished, I encourage you to press send so those actually get to me. And I thank you for participating in that little evaluation exercise. And now I do want to give us a chance to have some group reflection. So if everyone can just share one takeaway, something that you're thinking about coming off of this call, something you may change, or something that you're doing that you're definitely going to continue doing, and just in one sentence. So I'm going to call people out, and then we'll sum up. So how about Rachel? *7 to unmute, of course.
What I took away from this call, although I didn't say much, was just putting a lot of thought into the last day of basically the project. We're doing this in a week, and I'm actually not going to be there on the last day because I'll be at the Maccabi games. But figuring out some way to make that last day special and give them a gift and make it just a really great experience and a really great day to kind of end the program and leave it on a high note. So that's what I took out of it.
Thank you. All right, Hallie, one sentence takeaway.
I took away the idea that doing things just because you've always done them that way is silly, and you should always try to look at it with fresh eyes. I got so many new ideas today.
Terrific. Thank you. Donna?
Since it's my first year in the program, and we just decided who we're giving the funds to, it did get me thinking about how to present the checks to the recipients.
Great. And if you want copies of those big or medium checks, let me know.
Yeah, I definitely would.
Okay, great. Celeste?
I really liked Hallie's Hanukkah idea, and I'll be contacting her about that. But also, I like the idea in the beginning about using this as recruitment and who else can we invite to this program so that they can see it in action, especially maybe teens in the community. I have to think about that, but I thought that was good.
Great. And I think last, Darren?
Well, Celeste just took mine, which
Good.
is definitely the involvement of the community, not just the participants and those closest to them, but getting everybody to really be part of the closing ceremony.
Terrific. Did I miss anybody? Okay. So I'm glad that everyone is coming away with at least one new idea, and I just want to encourage you again to think about, how the program that you're either planning for the first time or that you've been doing is aligned with the goals of what you want to get out of that program. And I'm happy to have follow-up conversations with anyone about this, and you've seen who you might want to connect with through conversation. I can also connect you. So in conclusion, I just want to thank you. Like I said, I'm going to figure out a way to try to compile and share some of this information, and I do encourage you to send any of those materials that I mentioned along the way, any of those hard materials. And it was really great to hear from everyone. I feel like I get to know everybody a little bit better, and your program's better when we have one of these interactive experiences. So please join me in saying goodbye. I think that we will have our next calls will be we'll be on a little hiatus for the summer, but you can look for some emails about JTFN news and then calls probably in the fall. So thank you to everyone, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.